Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. Caught me a little flat-footed there. It was not going live. It was just hanging, so hopefully it's going okay. Computer's been a little weird. Updating is a little slow here. Okay, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. See, it's already complaining. All right. What do we got going on? So first of all, I just wanted to say, I'm just reading some messages from John the Savage here, and his mom is not doing well. She's in the hospital, and it's very serious. So I would like to just take a second that we can all send love, healing energy, prayers, however you do it, to John the Savage's mother. Looks like she's a very good person. She put up with John, and for that, she deserves much kudos. So let's do our best for her just for a second, please. However you guys want to do it. I'm not going to say how because it's up to you guys. Everybody has their way. John, I hope she gets better. I hope that for both of you. So definitely prayers for your mom. Sorry about this whole thing. I know it's very difficult when your mother is not doing well. I went through that a while ago, and it's just amazing how difficult it is. So best of luck to her. Prayers, best wishes. Okay, that's not like, I'm not sure how to segue now, so I guess this is going to be awkward, but somebody also said in here, the Neil Young Mandela effect. I guess he died. I don't know Neil Young, so I'm not very good at that one, but I guess that was a Mandela. Another back from the death. Now, let's see, who was that saying? Okay, who said that? So somebody was saying it was posted and then removed. Someone put out a video on it and it was taken down. Unless it just got Mandela and never existed. I don't know. That's a tricky one. If that thumbnail is liquid. No, but it may not be exactly what you think either. I don't know, this is kind of a scientific one, plus I just needed something to catch your attention for the thumbnail. The doctor on the Love Boat, back from the dead again, alive again, another one. I'm sure he died at least 3 years ago. I'm not sure if you mean Neil Young. Wait, who is Neil Young? Is that the guy from the Love Boat? I don't know. I give up. No, it's not a new haircut. It's just my hair getting longer, and then it was kind of dry, so my hair was all flat. And then it grows another inch, and then it's different, and it's just different all the time. Linda Lava Lamson, Shari, Austin 108. So exciting and new. Climb aboard. We're expecting you. That's actually one song that's like right in my voice range. Hippos are supposed to be herbivores. Yes, that I think has been on, Mr. Albert, in 1971. They do eat like dead bodies floating in the water now and stuff. It's pretty gross. That was, when did we have that on? Maybe like 6-8 months ago or something. It's hard to gauge it with these like super. So yeah, Love Boat, it wasn't exactly my favorite show, but back in the day, there really wasn't that much on. So you either watch nothing or you would watch something that wasn't your favorite quite often. So that's how that got watched. It definitely wasn't the worst one. Okay, so what's going on just dropped today, literally. Giant spiders expected to drop from sky across East Coast this spring. All right, so we've covered the thing that the spiders fly on the wind, but that was like little spiders, right? Little spiders. Then they said, Their web interacts with the electromagnetic field of the Earth across the sky, long distances. Yeah, but wasn't that like little spiders? Little spiders? Well, somehow I missed the memo when we jumped to big mofo spiders now, supposedly balloon. So this guy apparently, I don't think spiders even did this, not to mention dropping from the effing sky. But this storyline is that this spider who is non-native to the area balloons around somewhere else. Have you ever heard of this thing ballooning down in its native lands? An invasive species of spider the size of a child's hand is expected to colonize the entire East Coast this spring by parachuting down from the sky. Large Joro spiders, millions of them, East Coast as early as May. So, of course, people who live on the East Coast probably never had spiders of this size or any. I mean, I've never seen any spider come down on me from outside unless I was under a tree coming down from. But I'm sure East Coasters have no experience with large spiders just flying down out away from everything in fields and stuff. I mean, it's never been raining spiders. So they kind of have to say it's some non-native species, but native to Japan. Have you any Japanese people heard of Joro spiders falling from the sky? Began infiltrating the U.S. in 2013, southeast and specifically Georgia. They found out across the state using their webs as tiny, terrifying parachutes to travel with the wind. Okay, well, if they've been incubating since 2013, why are they just now supposedly going to balloon across the whole East Coast? So supposedly they're not poisonous and they can't bite hard enough to penetrate human skin, so they should just creepy. They are bright yellow, black, and blue and red. Yellow, black, blue, and red. That really sounds like a Mandela type of creature. Can grow up to 3 inches. 3 inches. How big is that? 3. Oh my God, that's huge. 3 inches. Can you imagine something like that falling from the sky? They likely traveled across the globe on shipping containers, similar to the bubonic plague. Okay. The life cycle begins in early spring, but they get big in June and often seen in July and August. They are named for the joy of Japanese folklore that can shapeshift into a woman or a spider before killing its prey. Okay, so yeah, this is not the kind of reality I remember voting for, but at least they are not poisonous. Usually bright stuff is poisonous too. I mean, blue, red, yellow, and black. Who came up with this business? So yeah, this story just out everywhere like today. So I don't know where these things were just hiding since 2013. Oh, Neil Young is a singer. Okay. Yeah, the transmission is poor. I'm sorry. I wish I was better at communicating cause. For instance, I've been in the Mandela Effect community since before it existed, and then when it did, but nobody knows me. Well, it's pretty hard to make friends online. I mean, I have people I talk with occasionally, but it's like not very often that I meet a new one of those that sticks online. And then they're all over the world, so I can't even. People are in all other countries. You can't even go there because of the arm poke mandates. And so I don't know. I mean, they're friends, but they're not the same as friends that you see every day. Like, there's a limit to how irritating anybody can be online versus in person, for instance. So you don't know how you'd really hit it off if you actually met them. I have in the past met some people that I knew online, and it is definitely different when you see them in person. So, it's hard to make friends these days, too, frankly. And then I live in the city, and that doesn't help. City attitude is different. So they're saying the spiders came from Japan, and then they smuggled their way over here and colonized Georgia, I think they said it was. And now, for some reason, they think that this year they're gonna balloon all over the East Coast. You know, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because shouldn't they been slowly building, and why didn't they balloon here? What's special about this year? Is the about parachuting spiders supposed to be actually real? Yeah, we've been talking about these for years now, a couple years. First, it was just little ones. Oh, they could fly on the wind using their silk webs. Very light, maybe, you know. Then they were saying, oh, it's they use their silk webs interacting with the electromagnetic field of the earth to fly. Something about positive, negative charge or something. I mean, that was starting to get weird. But now they're effing big. Now it is like really weird. Can you imagine that thing flying, ballooning? I mean, exaggeration, but I don't know in this timeline. It's getting next level. You thought that there was the killer bees, and then what was that next thing? The murder hornets, and now we have spiders falling from the sky. Neil Young was, how young are you? You know, I wasn't really in on the music scene. My parents didn't have a radio, and they only played on the record player their stuff, which was nothing like any regular young person would watch. So then I was I hang out with a lot of Asian crowd, and so we used, which is good stuff like Euro disco, but you know, back then there was no internet, so it wasn't easy to get a hold of music. Somebody had to like buy it wherever it was located at, and then carry it over. And you know, I didn't have any money, so I never bought anything. Strange energies for a couple days now. Yeah, you know that guy that was gonna like fixed up his boat in one timeline and then didn't fix it up in this timeline. My partner for pickleball, he's been kind of weird. I wonder if there was another shift because like the last few weeks, he's been. I mean, not a total a-hole, but he's been kind of he never was before. I mean, not terrible, but he just was like, he only wants to play with like certain people, and he's like, well, I want to play with them. And the way that it's set up is kind of like you play with whoever is up. You know, when there's a slot up, you go play. And then towards the end, you can kind of manipulate it more because there's open courts and you can kind of go, can I play with you guys? But and he said, well, who's playing? You know, and like he never used to do that before. And so it just was a little weird. And then he's like, I only want to play with those people and I want this partner and blah, blah. He just, I don't know. It's just strange. I've never once, ever heard him like that before. Okay, so that one. Spiders. Okay, so I was talking a couple people on the chit chat group, and was the number of Stonehenges are now kind of next level. There's all these Stonehenges. So I mean, you'd think that they always used to make out like Stonehenge, the regular one, was such a big deal, but it seems like they're growing up all over. So the lion's share of them for now. But I mean, would they really have like all those shows on Stonehenge and not ever cover any of these other ones? Kalana. Standing stones. I'm just gonna, so this one is in Scotland. Well, I hope my internet will allow this. So they're not quite as substantial as the regular Stonehenge, but it definitely seems like they're getting there. Some of these are pretty cool. And so they do come from like a similar eras, like, you know, thousands of years ago and stuff. Ooh, my internet's really... So this is Kalana standing stones. You can see they're pretty big. Ooh, it didn't even... Maybe I'll try Google. All right, I'm... It's not a good sign. All right, so that just collapsed. Hopefully my OBS is still working. Or not. Okay, it's still streaming, so I think you guys are still getting me. I will try. Good sign. Restore. Load. All right, you already saw Kalana standing stone, so I'm not going to try that one again. All right, hopefully it's going to work. I'm going to plug this in like it was going to work. All right. Okay, I think we're good. Internet's back. Fingers crossed. Reload. Yeah, this is not looking good. Come on, computer. Just let me finish for like 40 minutes or something. Okay, so we're at a stones of Sten's circle and henge. The last one was ring of... Oh, here. This is it. No. All right. 5 stones. I think it's 5 stones. My writing's not that good. Not good. Reload. All right, so they're a little smaller, but they do have some stackages. This is not good. Reload. Yep. I don't know how much further we'll get. I'll try. There's one other one called Rujun El Hiri in Golan Heights. I'm gonna not go on that one because clicking on this many is obviously a problem child. All right, let's go on to the next one. Valonia ventricosa, that is the thumbnail, so I might as well get that one in. Not good. Very not good. All right, Valonia ventricosa. So what's the deal with this thing? Okay, so it's like an algae, and it looks like a giant grape, but they actually can get up to 5 inches, so they can get really big. So the thumbnail was this image here, but it's... Okay, now my screen is bad. I'll go to my other screen. Okay, so the thumbnail is here, but like I said, they get to 5 inches, so this is not a full-sized one. They come in, it's supposed to be the same thing, Valonia ventricosa, but they're saying that it can be black, various shades of green, or silvery or clear. And then they say also sometimes other algae grows on top of it, making it even other colors. And I did see quite a number of images that look blue, like really blue, like see how this one is here. So I think we're going to get blue ones, although those were not mentioned. So what's extra neat about these? Not only is this algae very interesting looking, and apparently they live in both tropical and subtropical waters, so they're in a lot of areas. You can see by some of these images that there's a lot of them in some places. Okay, they can be quite beautiful because they're like semi-translucent and stuff. You can see through them. But what's really neat about these things is they're single-celled organisms. So like the human being has millions of little cells in the body. If you go back to your biology class, I know it was a long time ago, but so we're made out of millions of little cells, but it seems that now they have these very large single cells. So this thing is like a giant cell that when I was a kid only existed, you have to look under a microscope to see a single cell. Like single-celled algae would be so fine that you just barely, a lot of them would color the water, but you couldn't really see them without at least a low-power microscope. But now they can be 5 inches across. So this thing is basically a sac, and then it has, normally in my old timeline, a single cell would only have one nucleus and then various of the cellular components in there. Now, these large new timeline creatures, they're saying they have multiple nucleuses, which is interesting. I've never heard of a single cell organism with multiple nucleuses, but it seems like it's pretty common here. And hopefully you're still like hearing me and stuff. Yes, this is a single-celled organism. I didn't check if it's edible. That's a good question. So let's go over here and check it out. This is what shocked me. And then here's the thing. Some locations call this the world's largest single-cell organism. 5 effing inches. That is pretty big when it used to be like that big. But then other places said they are among the world's largest single-celled organisms. Other names for them are bubble algae and sailor's eyeballs. Nice. Okay, so it lives off of photosynthesis. It is one of the largest known unicellular organisms. So I've never heard of them really called unicellular. They were single cell. But I don't know, that's pretty much the same thing as far as I can tell. Unicellular, also known as single-celled, is an organism that consists of a single cell. A single-cell organism consists of a single cell. Thank you for the help. Unlike a multicellular organism that has multiple cells. Unicellular organisms fall into 2 general categories: prokaryotic organisms and eukaryotic. So if you remember back to your high school biology class, prokaryotic cells did not have a nucleus. Everything was just kind of floating around. And then eukaryotic single cells did have a nucleus. So these guys are eukaryotic. They do have a nucleus. In fact, they have multiple nucleuses. Multiple nuclei and chloroplasts. Okay, so how do they apparently somehow they divide by blopping out pups of they just kind of split, and then I wasn't able to find any images of them dividing, but that's basically how they divide. Just, like the old mitosis. They appear in tidal zones of tropical and subtropical areas, so they're not uncommon at all. Like the Caribbean, Florida, south to Brazil, Indo-Pacific. Overall, they inhabit every ocean throughout the world, often living in coral rubble. The greatest observed depth for viability is approximately 80 meters. Now, one place I read, and I'm not sure if this one location was really kosher, but it said that if they have to have light all the time, if they don't have light for 1 hour, they would die. And I'm like, what? But what about nighttime? So I don't know what's up with that, but range from spherical to ovoid. Color varies from grass green, dark green. They may appear silver, teal. Okay, that must be the blue ones, the teal, or even blackish, determined by the quantity of chloroplasts of the specimen. I don't see how chloroplasts quantity they are green would make it look teal, especially as teal as some of those images I saw. But this timeline rarely makes sense anyway. Okay, so very interesting. But Let's see. Wait, I'm just reading something here. All right, that's just chemical stuff. I didn't see anything about being edible, but I didn't see anything about them being poisonous. So maybe this is kind of a smallish, not the world's largest wiki, so they might be kind of new. I would not be at all surprised if we saw more out of those things. But let us jump to other stuff. Wait, or did I have that written? Oh, you know what? I think that's still in my pocket as I was doing research at work. And I found more things. Okay, and while I look up more on other singular celled organisms that are quite large, we had one from Sia It's Me. Okay, the author that wrote the famous Harry Potter books. How is that name spelled, the last name? It's J.K. Rowling. Okay, that's the name. If you know who wrote, it's probably the most famous author on face of the earth, at least in the Western world. Author J.K. How does that last name go? No cheating, just out of memory. What do you remember? Okay, now I'm going on to the next thing. Okay, interesting. Okay. Most of you do remember current timeline. Okay, so right now it's Eliza POW remembers it the same as me and It's Me Sia. We remember it as well, okay. I remembered it as Rawlings, like Rawlings. And that's how she remembered it. But it's now with an O and no S. So it's now Rowling. But I know it had an S. I'm not 100% on the O versus A, but I know it had an S on it. Rowlings. Yeah, or was she Rowling? See, Shari might be remembering what I remembered. I remember Rawlings. She's kind of interesting because her personality seems to flip a lot. Like she kind of was going real liberal, and then all of a sudden now she's gone all Republican ish. And so that was kind of a weird, flipping back and forth too. So Rawling. See, I remember it as J.K. Rowling, but now she's Rowling, but I remember it as Rawlings. Rawlings. Okay, so now let me just look at those other weird things. All right. Hopefully I can get this to load. The largest single-celled organisms. In the world. Okay, so they were saying it's among the largest, so I went ahead and I went, well, what is the largest then? Let's see if it will tolerate this probably advertisement-laden channel. Okay, so other large ones from smallest to largest. Stentor. Okay, so they're acting like, you probably saw these in your high school biology class. No, I've never heard of these. I took a lot of biology classes in high school and in college. I've never heard of Stentor, often found in high school classrooms. No, we had planaria and a number of other things. We had one of the top schools in the country for high schools, and no, I've never heard of Stentor. In fact, we never studied it. Stentor can reach size about 2 millimeters. Okay, but single celled. No, never heard of the thing. All right, now here's these things. Apparently related to Stentor. Spirostomum, never heard of them things. Chaos carolinensis, it's some kind of amoeba. Never heard of those. Those are like, I think they were 4 millimeters, so like maybe a quarter of an inch single cell. Like I said, when I was a kid, like the single cell were tiny, tiny, tiny. These things are weird. Gromia spherica. What is it like 3.8 millimeters, so 3 centimeters, so a little bit bigger than a quarter of an inch. Um, they look like some kind of powdered sugar donut. Um, so this one was extra weird because apparently they can move. So it's single cell organism, but they're able to roll along the ground and leave trails. So they're now saying, oh, well, maybe these left trails in the ancient times too, and the trails were assumed to be from other animals, but they were from these single-celled. Remember, these are all single-celled here, all of them. Okay, then there's the one we've already covered, the sailor's eyeball. Okay, then there's this thing, Spiculosyphon oceana. Never heard of that. So those are going to be even larger, 2 inches long. Well, I'm not sure. Okay, these are supposed to be up to 5 inch, but these are only 2 inch. So that seems like a scam to me. That it should be further back in the list. Looks and behaves like some species of sponges. The organism is a relatively new discovery, only being found off the coast of Spain. Not only does this look like a sponge, but it also behaves like one by creating a shell of spicules. Since when do single-celled organisms have all these specialized parts? Okay, and it gets worse because this one here, acetabularia, they look like little candies again, or little, I don't know what. This organism is a mushroom-shaped algae that can grow up to 4 inches and lives in large clusters. Acetabularia, sometimes called mermaid's wineglass, is also a multinucleate organism, meaning it has several nuclei throughout its cells. Its cell. I just can't get my brain around that this is one cell. It has like a stalk and everything, and it is one giant cell. The particular species has a claim to fame as it was used by Joachim Hammerling to show that genes are encoded by DNA in eukaryotic creatures. All right, then this thing, Serengaminica fragilissima. I couldn't find any image of these. I don't know if the Mandela is still working on those things. These amoebas are very mysterious. Okay, whatever. Slime molds. We've covered those before. So here's the weird thing now with the slime molds. Okay, what I remember is that they were single-celled organisms. This is what it was last time I covered it, I swear. Single-celled organisms that would work together in a group to be a slime mold, and that individual parts, like individual cells, would take on specific characteristics to do certain jobs. Like it would kind of specialize to operate inside the slime mold. And then if the slime mold broke back apart, then it would go back to its kind of neutral position of doing all the jobs. So that was really weird to me because these things they could specialize and unspecialize depending on whether they were part of a slime mold or not. But what I can see now, the current story for slime molds, and it might be just these plasmodial slime molds, but they're saying that slime molds now, the cells, the individual cells, when they come in together as a slime mold, they break down into one giant cell. So they like lose their individual boundaries of cells, and they are no longer operating like cells. Like in the human body, each of our cells has its own boundaries. But what they're saying here is that they dissolve their separate cell identities, and the nucleus of each cell just floats around, and it basically becomes, instead of many small single-celled organisms, it becomes one large single-celled organism with many nucleuses that just float around. So that's like a whole new storyline for these slime molds. That was like, wait a minute. These start out as small amoeba-like creatures. Well, they were single-cell creatures for me. Okay, small amoeba-like creatures. They can merge under certain conditions. Plasmodial slime molds called mycomycetes, I have no idea how to pronounce that, do not retain any of their individuality as a single-celled organism when they merge. They completely merge into a single multinuclear cell. That's what's new for me. The last time I studied these slime molds for this show, that was not the case at all. All right. Now this one is even more insane. Caulerpa taxifolia. Again, I'm really not sure how to pronounce especially that first one, Caulerpa. Now, I kind of have a little bit of a history with these because this plant has changed. Okay, Caulerpa taxifolia is a type of seaweed and the largest unicellular organism. Now, that is where we got a problem. Whoops, no, we don't want that. Caulerpa, no. Caulerpa is not the largest unicellular. Well, okay, it is now, I have to admit. But here's the story on Caulerpa. Okay, so Caulerpa is a plant that is often used in fish tanks, and there was a big stink, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, literally, that these they were very invasive, and people would dump their fish tanks out with their fish into, like, to release them. So they had, like, saltwater fish that I'll just release them to the ocean instead of, like, killing them because I don't want them anymore, whatever. The whole story was always a bit weird, but they're basically saying that they would say tiny bits of this Caulerpa could spring to life, but that's not that weird. I mean, you can take a piece of cactus and break it off and plant it, and that could grow. It could grow roots. So it wasn't the weirdest thing in the world that this Caulerpa could grow roots and, like, off a tiny sprig, but it was very dangerous that way because it was hard to eradicate. Because if you pulled it up and you missed, like, a little piece and it floated off, that thing could grow again. And so some of this stuff was found in a lagoon near here in San Diego. And they had to cover the entire bottom of the lagoon with plastic so that nothing could escape. And then they pumped poison in there and basically killed the entire bottom ecosystem of the lagoon. Just totally nuclear holocausted it in order to kill this Caulerpa because they just were so terrified it would escape. But it was an ordinary plant then. It was just a plant. But now it's a single-celled organism. That is freaking ridiculous. It was never... This is like a whole plant with roots and all that stuff, and now it's just one cell, like one endless cell, and it's huge. This is, like, ridiculous. Caulerpa taxifolia has the honor of being the largest single-celled organism on the planet. It can reach 10 feet long. 10 feet long! This unicellular organism is a form of seaweed and is known for being highly invasive and negatively impacted other organisms, blah, blah, blah. Hardy, capable of surviving. Here's another thing. Capable of surviving out of water for days. That was not the case before. It didn't... There was, I never heard of that. It could spring forth from small pieces, but it didn't survive out of the water for days. And able to reproduce from small pieces of the whole organism. Yes, that was true. See, that's also weird. Okay, it's a single-celled organism. You would think that if you burst the outer part, then you burst the cell, right? But no, apparently it can just heal back up. And it's got multiple nucleuses. I think in the old days, single cells had one nucleus. So it's not going to survive unless it has its nucleus, right? But now with these multicellular nucleuses, single-celled organisms, I guess you can damage it or break it apart. And as long as there's a nucleus in both halves, it would be fine. But this is just crazy. So plants don't have to have cells anymore. I mean, this is a huge, giant plant. And there's no cells, and I just, I don't know, my brain just can't process there's a 10-foot long single cellular organism. I'm sorry, but that's just totally freaking insane. I think that's it now. Blah, blah. These organisms are single cells that have many different nuclei, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Callirpa is a old news too. So it's definitely not new. It's in the aquarium trade. It was a problem 20 years ago, but I swear this was an ordinary plant 20 years ago. It was not a singular celled organism. So, psh, God, I really hope you're still on there somewhere, because that would suck if I just talked for like 20 minutes and you didn't hear it all. They were made of thousands of cells. Yep. Oh, chihuahuas. It really does not like checking up on you guys. It actually might be YouTube that's bombing the computer more than anything in this chat. Has anybody heard of Blue Rabbit before? I'll check that out. That's how they grew from cell to... How can they be one cell? I don't know. There's a whole new thing. Everything's like a giant amoeba now. Do cell organisms have microscopic cells? Nope. They don't. They don't have cells inside because they're single. They are the cell. They're the thing that used to be this big, but now they're 10 foot long. What about singer Donna Summers? It's now spelt Summers. Oh, yeah. She was Summers with an S. Like Rawlings with an S. Yes, she was. I think that was an old Mandela. I think I remember seeing that one. A species called Chaos is very Ami-like. I have a memory of hearing people call her Rowlings, but I remember seeing it in a book with the S, without the S, huh? Okay, so don't look up plants with a brain, might get a fright. See, bombed again. All right, I'm going to run on to the next one and then I'll check and see what's up. All right, I got that one. I got Harry Potter. All right, I'm going to leave that one till next time because I don't know how many more of these I'm going to get through. Spiders, Stonehenges. All right, I'm trying to see which I want to do next because I don't want to, I want to get the best ones in first. All right, let's do this one. Another weird sciencey one. Have you guys ever heard of Prince Rupert's drops? Prince Rupert's drops. It's just weird. I have not ever heard of it. Okay, just checking to make sure I don't owe anybody any. Some of these ones will probably have to go next week because I just don't know how many more of these we're going to get in safely. Prince Rupert's drops. So what is even a Prince Rupert's drop? So basically these are when you're blowing glass and the glass is all liquid. They throw the liquid drop into water and then it solidifies into like a drop shape. You know, there's a big bomb on one end and like a scrungy tail all wiggling off, and then it just dries, it just whatever cools down really fast, and so you have a drop of glass. And so big whoop. Okay, yeah, that's kind of interesting. But what's really weird about these things, and I have never heard of these things, but so what's super bizarre is that the head part has like this super power strength. So like you can hit it with a hammer. It's glass, okay? Normally if you took a piece of glass and hit it with a hammer, it's going to shatter. But no, it won't. You can actually hit it with a bullet. You can shoot it with a bullet and it won't break on the head. And then they like put it in like a vise, and it took like, you know, some ridiculous amount of pressure before it would finally break. It was like, it's like a super super glass, like, it's on steroids and it's, from Krypton or something, for the head. But then if the tail, first it's all spindly, but second, it's really easy to break if you just slightly flick it. The tail breaks. But what's weird is if you break this tail, even if the tail's like all out here and you just break the end of it, like way out here, or just nick it a little, the whole thing explodes all the way up to the head. That super indestructo head that could take a hammer blow or a bullet will just shatter into, they said it's like powder. So you don't even get hurt. So if you're holding these and you do the experiment, you don't get hurt because it turns into powder. So, the whole thing explodes if you break the tail. Even the tiniest bit, even if it's way out here and it's like 2 feet long and you just snap the tail, the whole thing explodes instantly. So that's what's really weird about these things. I have never heard of this. I think there's something fishy going on with the timeline, frankly. The explosive disintegration arises due to multiple crack bifurcation events when the tail is cut. I don't know. They're saying something about the stresses are built up and blah, blah, blah. But I really haven't seen an explanation for why the head is so strong. Okay, here. Namely, the strength of the heads is a direct consequence of large compressive residual stresses up to 700 megapascals that exist in the vicinity of the head's outer surface. This stress distribution is measured by using glass's natural property of stress-induced birefringence and by employing techniques of 3D photoelasticity. The high fracture toughness due to residual compressive stresses makes Prince Rupert's drops one of the earliest examples of toughened glass. Not like I understand any of that. If you do, my hat's off to you. So these go way, way, way back. So it's not new at all. I don't know. I was going to run a video on it, but I'm a little leery of trying that now. In fact, I think I had one ready. Beautiful destruction. Yes, I did have one. Oh, maybe I'll try it. Drops. So apparently they were popularized by some dude named Prince Rupert, hence the name. See if we can run a whole YouTube video without collapsing here. All right. I don't want to get a copyright, so this is the edge of a drop here. I'm just going to jump forward bit by bit. I think that's showing them shattering one. All right, so here's him getting the drops out. So you can see they had to pack them real carefully because if this end gets damaged, then the whole thing shatters. So some kind of ridiculous long tail on this thing. All right, I think he's got one in his hand, but I don't see one. They are explosive. Doink. All right, so here he's got one. There's the head. All the way out there's the tail. Now he's going to just snap it over here a little bit, and the whole thing's going to explode. Trying to see where my cursor is. There. That was it. The whole thing completely exploded because he broke that corner. No matter how far out this tail reaches, if you break a tiny bit, the whole thing explodes. But supposedly it's not dangerous, though. Like, you don't get hurt. I mean, maybe wear eye protection, but it's supposed to be just, like, mostly powder. Okay, so then I think he's talking about the compressive strength of it and stuff here. He's talking about the creation. All right, well, you get that idea. But, yeah, it's pretty weird. Prince Rupert's drops. All right, let's see if we can reload this. I think it's the chat that's killing this window here. These drops have been around for a long time. Yeah, so this is by HK, which I don't know who. Are you HK? HK figured this one out. Thank you, HK. Prince Rupert's Island. Nope. Small glass structures resembling tadpoles. 400-year-old mystery. Yep. You'd think you'd learn about this in like physics class or something, you know? So yeah, good find, HK. Commenter on the channel. Seems like there are more species of carnivorous plant. Definitely. And we have those ones that look like toilet seats, and those ones that look really, really a lot like men's ding dongs. I mean, like really like it. Narratives are getting stranger by the day. Been hearing the word narrative a lot. Yeah. Blue rabbits. Okay, let's check out blue rabbits. Are they really blue? Blue rabbits. I wasn't sure if you're joking or not. It's very hard to tell these days. Our American blue rabbits. Okay, well, let's see if we can get... Because I think they're still just like really like a gray color, right? Deviant art, that's not real. I think they're still just like gray though. I mean, like, see these American blue, those are gray rabbits. So it's kind of an interesting thing because a lot of things that are gray and they'll call them blue, like there's the Russian blue cats, but they're not blue, they're gray. I kind of wonder if in a future timeline they will be more blue. I think they're still gray, it looks like on here. See, like that. That's a gray animal here. And I used to, there's also agate, they call it blue agate in certain areas, and you get there and it's gray. And I'm like, well, where's my blue agate? And they're like, that's it. I'm like, this is not blue. So I called it, well, I didn't use the word baloney. I used a less nice word, but I will use the word baloney for YouTube. So I called them baloney blue. And I was like, I don't want any baloney blue agate. Because, you know, you drive all the way out there and it takes like 2 hours and then you dig and dig and dig and it's just gray agate. And you're like, no, I did all this work for blue agate. Okay, so yeah, I don't think they're actually blue. Not yet. I can see that's going to hold up real nice. Ooh, now it doesn't even want to give me the chat. Come on.